Hello and welcome. This is the second video in which we will talk about Wikipedia, our internal secure educational platform. Still, we have no like, no share, or subscribe buttons. If you haven't watched the first video titled The Patient Experience Cycle that explains the evolution and the components of the patient experience cycle in greater detail, I suggest you watch that one first. As discussed in the first video, the diagram on the left represents the patient experience cycle, a model that contains every task and every function in dental practice with the purpose of providing the best working environment for all of us and the greatest experience for the patient. To the right is our internal Wikipedia, a secure educational platform that we use. We chose to work with Wiki because it's a format most people are familiar with. So I'm really excited to get started. And so is everybody else. Awesome. Okay. Maybe not everyone is excited as I am, which is okay. Maybe sitting in front of the computer screen isn't the most exciting thing to do. And writing protocols might not be the best thing you would like to do in an evening on a weekend. But I promise you there is a method to this madness. It's a first step. We need to first agree on what the protocols are before we can start training on them. Let's address the elephant in the room. Is this a necessary evil? Is it a waste of time? Or is it something meaningful with value in it? We've done so far, well, why can't we just do the on-the-job learning like we've always done before? The new people will learn from the veterans through osmosis. Seems to be working for everybody else, and it definitely worked for us. Valid point. The question is, who do we want to compare ourselves to? Do we want to compare ourselves to the dentist down the street, or do we want to compare ourselves to the leaders? And if we continue what we did always, and I mean, obviously we will get a little bit better every time, but are we doing what do we need to do to be leaders? Or are we falling behind? If we want to remain leaders, we need to do what leaders do. I like to look at the most powerful, successful, futuristic dental practices. Here's an example of a conference in Dallas. I do go wherever I can and learn as much as I can. This is a conference in Dallas that is put on every year by a lawyer for dental service organizations. The biggest corporate players are their clients. And this is where all the big, successful dental corporations attend to share and discuss their plans and strategies. Not everyone's invited. I was one of the 10 or 15 Canadians that were there out of 800 attendees. All the big corporate players were there, the CEO of Shine, Dentsply, guest speakers, everybody who's interested in building dental empires. In a couple of days, you become so pumped that you feel like you can walk through the wall. But then you come back to Canada and you literally feel like you traveled back in time. There's a lot I can talk about the future of the business dentistry, but I will save that for another presentation. The relevance here to this presentation is that on-the-job training will only take us so far. If we want to truly remain leaders, we need to do what leaders do, which means being ahead of the curve, which means setting a system that allows all individuals to learn and advance. Here's an example of a couple of the big players, Heartland Corporation and Aspen. They have their own education centers, their own training platforms for all team members, from the co-op placement to office managers, assistants, hygienists, receptionists, dentists. They're all in this process of the ongoing continuing training mode, individual training, team training. Everyone's in it. In Canada, this is still in a very, very infancy stage, but in the next few years, when those big boys from the US enter and penetrate the Canadian market, which they will, we will see much more of these. Let me just be clear on this. We're not looking at replicating what they do. It's good to observe and learn, but we have our own brand, our own vision. Being a big and profitable dental corporation with many locations is not our goal nor our vision. We want to provide the best experience for us and our patients. If we're not enjoying what we're doing, then we're doing something wrong. And if we're not enjoying, it doesn't matter if we have one location or 100. We're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. So our goal, our vision, we talk about it. We want to provide the most enjoyable experience for everybody, our patient, ourselves, and that's what we do. So I want to focus on another company, a company that we all know that I feel is more aligned with what we want to do and what we aspire to become. When it comes to providing the ultimate experience, there is arguably no one better than Disney. Disney has created a magic world with just a pencil, pen, and a dream. Disney works towards perfecting every aspect of that experience. They have made the delivery of that experience into science. Disney has the entire client experience mapped out from the beginning to the end, drilled into the most minuscule detail. And each of those details is engineered to perfection. Everything you see, you touch, you feel at Disney is there for a specific reason. Not only that, Disney never stops improving. They're always on top of the evolving needs of their clients, anticipate what they would potentially do, and then they come up with a solution, even before their clients are asking for it. They anticipate the problems before they occur, and they come up with solutions. Disney is by no means perfect, but as they chase that perfection, they do distance themselves from the competition. And this is what we're looking at doing. Let's talk about the thousands of Disney team members, the people who interact with the end user, their role in that experience. From the person at the gate checking the passes, the person sweeping the sidewalk, the ride operator, the lady selling the ice cream, the person behind the Mickey Mouse mascot, their jobs are different. And most of their jobs seem very straightforward. They need to be friendly, they need to know how to perform their limited tasks. If the lady is friendly, she knows her ice cream and can count money and operate a merchant banking machine, there's not much more training that she needs, right? Wrong. Disney spends exorbitant money, time, and effort in training. You have to go through one of their two education institutions. They have a Disney University and they have a Disney Institute, with the purpose to teach employees and everyone else who wants to learn about the aspects of Disney and provide them with the training to deliver the experience to the visitors. Until they've done the training, until they've watched the videos, until they've been through it, it doesn't matter if you're sweeping the floor. If you're not qualified because you have not passed, you're not going to go in the park and come in contact with the client. That's the difference. That's why when you see everybody in Disney, they're so coordinated. And you know what employees are called? They're not called staff. They're called a team. And they're called cast members. Okay, so that's Disney. Here's their business model from 1955. It is a complicated business organization with many moving business parts, and there's a myriad of procedures and protocols and a complex network of touchpoints contributing to the overall experience. While it could seem silly comparing our dental practice to a company that has a revenue of almost $3,000 per second and provides as many jobs as all the employers in London combined, it is interesting to look at Disney as a measuring stick of a successful, complex, client-centric experience structure and see how does it compare to us. But how complex is a dental practice? How complex is Dental Park? What if someone told you that a dental practice is the most complex, personalized small business? Let's think about it for a second. Let's think of it from a dental park's perspective, a combination of River Park, Victoria Park, and Oasis Park. It might not seem very complicated to look at each task individually, but if you look at it collectively, there are a lot of things. And given how many ways there are to do everything in a dental office, you will quickly realize how sophisticated and complex dental practice really is. The big reasons why dentists and dental practices struggle is because they fail to understand the complexity of a dental practice. Let me explain. Dental Park, it's a combination of 18 distinct standalone businesses, each sophisticated in their own way, unified under one umbrella. Dental Park is a place where you deal with patients' health, much like a family doctor. It is like a hospital where you go to perform surgeries. It's a walk-in clinic for emergencies, an aesthetic, a cosmetic studio, a hygiene clinic, a whitening center, a dental clinic, a dental lab, a cosmetic surgery clinic, a hygiene clinic, a CT scan radiology clinic, a whitening center, an ortho office, a periodontist and a practice, a children-friendly pediatric clinic, a holistic dentistry refuge, and a pediatric dental care. Now, these 18 distinct businesses are scattered among 3 practices, unlike Tim Hortons or McDonald's. Each of those practices is very distinctive in size, procedure, geography, and the type of patients it serves. Let's talk about the complexity. Let's talk about the services. The 2020 GP fee guide, there are 1,308 codes. Now, you don't have to know all of them. We don't use all of them. But you do have to have a pretty good knowledge of knowing which ones to use. And there are other codes that are not in the guide. We use not 1, not 2, but 3 fee guide, 2 specialist fee guide, and we have a very small number of patients on a social assistance. Dental experience has over 250 touch points. A touch point can be defined as any way a consumer can interact with a business, whether it is in person to person, through a website, an app, or any form of communication. It could be when they make a call, they see our website, meet one of our team members, get a tooth pulled. These are all unique events or touch points. The experience at the end is the sum of the positive, negative touch points. If you think of how many touch points exist between when the patient first searches for us to scheduling the visit, coming for a consult, COE, hygiene visit, gets a pretty scan, comes back, gets the work done, and everything until the next appointment. The 250 touch points in that patient experience is comparable to family going for a Disney cruise or to a Disney resort. On top of that, dental practice has no shortage of dangerous touch points. Dangerous touch points are defined as touch points that are at high risk of providing a negative patient experience. While a lot of things can go wrong in a Disney cruise or a resort, there are a lot more things that can go in a dental setting, clinically or any point as they pass through 250 touch points. Which brings me to the next point, the risk. Every patient has an element of risk. There's obviously the clinical risk associated with the procedure not done correctly. We're seeing patients are old, medically compromised. We're sedating them. There's a risk they could die. Every patient is a potential lawsuit. Even if we did everything correctly, they could still sue us, or they can make our life impossible by filing a complaint with RCDSO. There's a risk of an infection, and we're not even talking about COVID. You come in very close contact with patients who can have any impossible infectious disease. You have to have sterilization, infection control protocols at the highest standards. Stimuli in psychology means something that causes a response. It is a filter through which we, as consumers, see our experience. A Disney cruise, a nice, beautiful sandy beach, or warm day triggers a positive stimuli. A 5-star resort, a spa, Disney World, exclusive restaurant, have all positive stimuli associated with them, those positive connotations that put you in a good mood. So as a business, you're catering to people who have chosen you because they want to be there. They're happy, excited, and it makes it so much easier to provide a great experience. You really have to screw up or under-deliver in many of those areas for the client to feel like they had a bad experience. The negative stimuli is the opposite. The 3 most negative stimuli are fear, pain, and high costs. If you're afraid, you're nervous. You're not enjoying yourself. If you're in pain, well, you know the answer. And if you have to sink a lot of your hard-earned cash into your mouth rather than spending on something you would much rather prefer, you're definitely not in a good spirit. Well, guess what? A dental experience has all of those 3 stimuli associated with it. Not every appointment, but in general, those 3 stimuli are present. Now, we wonder why people say they hate going to the dentist. What other personalized service has these 3 stimuli associated with it? In order to provide that experience we described in the previous slides, that's pretty easy as long as we have the 25 hard and soft skills needed and expertise in 15 professions, not counting the obvious ones like dentistry, hygiene, lab, sterilization, radiology, dental assisting, medicine, or pharmacology. Because although we're not dispensing drugs like a pharmacy, we still need to make sure that prescriptions are done correctly. If we screw up, Another potential risk and liability. We could spend the next few minutes listing all the sub areas of dental practice, but let's skip these and let's talk about some of the distinct professions that are present in dental practice. First, we need to be all great communicators, each and every one of us. We need to be communicators virtually in every communication media, face-to-face, on the phone, email, text, social media, recall max, chat. We have to be amazing salespeople to convince the patients of treatment. It is a business. Unlike a hospital, people do have to pay out of pocket, and dentistry is expensive by most standards. In fact, what an average patient spends per year at a practice is more than what an average Canadian saves. But if we can't communicate and convince that patient, our superstar dentists and hygienists have no chance to show up their skills. You have to be an expert in internal and external marketing, social media, website, Facebook, Twitter, and you have to be an expert on all the RCDSO marketing rules. As most marketing initiatives are prohibited and the penalties are harsh. One write-up in dispatch and you're doomed. You have to be a professional photographer. A picture tells 1,000 words. You need to be able to operate a camera, a video camera, take pictures not only of people but also of their teeth with the camera and the scanner. You have to be a dental benefit expert. You deal with benefits, and there are tens of thousands of different plan variations, combinations, permutations, and you have to have a good idea how they work, the tricks of the trade, to help our patients get paid. You have to have knowledge of book math and arithmetics. They're essential when discussing treatment and fees. Hey, and when we're talking about math, knowledge of finance and banking is also extremely useful when helping to coordinate financing. You need to have the skills of a collection agency when you're chasing people for money. Understand confidentiality, informed consent, legalities, privacy breach, PPAP, IPTA. And speaking of our CSO, you have to know the binary of rules so that you can keep patient information safe. And then you have to deal with more things if you want to send them things on email, teledentistry. People associate dentistry with pain, fear, and high costs. We said that already before, so they generally, a lot of them don't like us. That makes your job of making that patient experience so much harder. So you have to be a good host, be compassionate, understanding, and at the same time, be strong, affirmative, and direct so you can collect the hard-earned money. You have to take good notes, communicate verbally, by text, by email, so you have to not only be a strong writer, but experienced writer and be able to think on multiple levels, as one word or sentence can make a difference between a happy patient and a lawsuit. And once you write the wrong things in a note, it's there forever. It'd be nice to have a knowledge of foreign languages. Sometimes the communication occurs in different languages. The patients will share intimate information with you, so you're expected to be a marriage counselor, a guidance counselor, and a motivator. You deal with people in pain, fear, who don't have the money, and you have to manage their unrealistic expectations. You need to be able to deal with upset patients. They will share a lot of information with you, so you have to be a good listener, a psychologist, and you have to be very conscious of your time so that you're efficient, quick, but yet not make the patient feel like you're rushed. You have to be an expert in legal matters, patient confidentiality, so you don't accidentally mess up and say something inappropriate. You have to be an expert in technology and hardware and software. And modern practice is an integrated technological system that provides a dental service. Don't believe it? How well can dental practice when the power is cut off? Hey, most practices can't even function if they lose internet connection. So yes, you have to be pretty versed in technology, and considering how much technology and equipment we use every day, in dental practice, personnel uses more equipment than an average operator, machine operator in a factory. And to top it off, you need to know how to make coffee and be a great tour guide and ensure popsicles outside have not melted. There's water in the box, and in the winter, make sure there's no ice on the sidewalk. On top of it, you have to be an actor in the sense that you have to smile and be nice to people who might not be very nice to you. So it's not a stretch when we say we need a team of superheroes to deliver that experience. Now we've covered what it takes to make the patient happy. Let's talk about the environment and the team. After all, superheroes are working part of as a team. Every dentist is different and has their own way on how you would like to get things done. Each of the team members are also different in many ways. Different backgrounds, different educational backgrounds, language, culture, experience, knowledge, skills, age, goals, aspiration, pet peeves are all different. And all this complexity happens in an accelerated pace with patients who are already subject to this very negative stimuli of pain, fear, and dollar signs. And you have to cater to them in a space that's usually smaller than tennis court, in some cases like half of the tennis court. So in light of all this complexity, we're expected to fuse magically together into this cohesive team and provide this uniform, phenomenal patient experience across the 250 touch points in a consistent, sustainable way, and do this with a bit of on-the-job training. You need to practice and train for every sport, for every activity, for every profession. You can't work in Tim Hortons until you spend 2 to 3 days watching videos and you've passed the tests so you can serve a coffee. I think it makes sense to do a bit of training in the dental profession. Sure, every performance, every game, it's a valuable experience that makes you better. But every team, every athlete will not get very far. The only training and learning they do is during the game performance. The question is a dental practice the most sophisticated and complex small business? Well, if it's not, what is? The other question is, well, if it is so important, then why are there dentists not doing it? Well, there's a number of reasons. First, in the past when dentistry was a simple business, that was not something that was needed. You got to remember, necessity is the mother of progress. All dentists were making money, and business of dentistry was much simpler. There was no need. You could do the minimum necessary and still be rich. A lot of those dentists who were able to build up a successful practice just rode the wave, and they're still riding that wave. As a result, the industry does not have a culture of training. The best proof is that you have mandatory CE requirements, point to different categories that you're obligated to take. As the business of dentistry becomes more competitive, dentists are increasing their continuing education, but still, for the most part, limited to the clinical aspects. Second reason is training is very expensive. It takes time, effort, and it's difficult to do well. Dentists don't say to the degree of complexity that I've presented here. If you think what it costs to pay a consultant to come in, the employee's time, and most important, if you're training, you're not seeing patients. So you get hit twice. You're spending money, you lose hours of production. It costs between $5,000 to $10,000 per employee or associate to do it well per year. For a practice of 20 people, that's $100,000 to $200,000. Combination of costs, lots of opportunity costs of not seeing the patient. Most dentists are not willing to spend that amount of money, and even if they do, it doesn't guarantee success. Because if they're not able to implement and follow through, that money's lost. Another big reason is that more qualified employees are more expensive to maintain. They're more marketable, so you have to pay them more or you will lose them. And then the dentist feels that they have to spend more money, either giving that person more money or money on searching, rehiring, and retraining. Same thing with associates. Better trained associates more likely to leave to start their own practice. When that happens, you lose patients, and now you have to find a new associate and hope that they are good so you don't lose more patients. Therefore, most dentists prefer to keep their associates and team members grounded. Give them a little training so they can be more valuable to their practice, but not too much so they don't ask for more money, they don't leave. I don't like that. With Nora, we've always believed that investing in our team members and in their careers is the best investment you can make. People want to stay with us because we're a better fit for what they're looking for, because they want to be with us, not because they can't find a better job. Fortunately, most dentists would not agree with me. For the few dentists who do agree with me and subscribe to my philosophy, they have another challenge. They can't afford it. And if they can't afford it, they subscribe to our philosophy, continuing learning, and they're able and they're willing to spend they need to think of the effect they will have on the practice value. See, there's a paradox. Every dentist will agree that a strong, cohesive, well-trained team, and by team I mean everyone including associates, is worth earth and the sky. However, when it comes to actually paying for a practice that has a great team, they're not willing to pay for it. Dental Strategy last year did more practice evaluations in Ontario than any other company. We also helped dentists on the buyer side to look at appraisals from other companies. So we've been involved in over 100 transactions over the past couple of years. In all cases, a strong team is seen more as a liability than an asset. Well, Matt, how does that make any sense? Well, because it's very difficult for the purchaser to measure how good a team really is. Most of the times, they buy the practice without even ever meeting the team members. But it's very easy to read a financial statement. So if you have two practices, each of them earning $1 million, one has a staff cost of $180,000, that's being seen as, wow, it's an efficient practice. It's a great practice to buy. On the other hand, if you have $1 million practice with HR costs of $300,000 or $400,000 because you spend $100,000 on training, ooh, no, that's an inefficient practice. People are overpaid, and it's a red flag for the buyer. And because most dentists don't see the world that we do, it's difficult, on the verge of impossible, to convince them that a practice with a great team is worth paying more for than one without it. So there you have it. I won't change the culture or mentality of this industry, but the 200 million, 500 million, to 1 billion dental giants from down south, they will. But until that happens, we here at Dental Park will take advantage of what the other dentists don't see. What I'm about to present is not the ultimate solution and the ticket to prosperity, the holy grail for all of us. It's not a fountain of eternal leadership or success. It is the basis. This is the fundament on what everything is built. It's the first step. We can't be great if we don't practice. We can't practice if we have not agreed on the drills we need. There's no question that all of you have done an amazing job. We have an amazing team. We have created an amazing organization. Unless we learn, train, practice as individuals and as a team, the learning will plateau and the leadership gap will shrink, and eventually we will lose that leadership. Alternatively, if we do it well, we will pull away and enjoy the fruits of our leadership, both individually and as an organization. In the next video, I will speak about the features of WikiPark Media. Thank you.